you. Don't you just love David Trolley? Just, I mean, love. You can feel the love. Thank you, David. Thank you so much. Thank you. You know, and thank you, Patricia, for platforming today and for the meditation. Absolutely wonderful. And Patricia, I wanted to tell you that I love something you said in your meditation. It just filled me up when you were taking us into meditation, and you said, feel love. And then you said, feel the immensity of that love. I love that. Can we all just stop for a moment and feel the immensity of God's love, of our divinity that we bring into this human experience with us? The immensity of it. It's overwhelming, it's abundance, it's everywhere present. Last week, the daily word was trust. And so as we move through this series, these words all will become connected. And I think of Ricky Byers' song as we move into loving. Today's word is loving, not love, but loving. But of course, that's the adjective, and love has to fall into that. We come with love. And so Ricky Byers says this: trust love, trust love. Trust God that love is everywhere, that we all are here to be the perfect givers of love and receivers of love, and love will have the final word. The perfect givers of love and the perfect receivers of love, it's a give and receive. It's not a give and take. It's a give and receive. We're the perfect receivers of love. And then when we're giving and receiving, love can have the final word. Love will have the final word. And you know, there are many ways to express loving or to be loving. I was sitting in the men's spiritual prosperity team meeting last week, and we were talking about abundance. We were talking about spiritual prosperity. And one of the men shared a story about a hike he took, and of all the things that touched his heart in nature. And he shared them with us. And when he was done sharing them, I don't know about the rest of the men, but I was filled up with love just thinking about all the beauty of God's love in nature. And so there are many ways to be loving. There are many ways to share our love. There are many ways to give our love, to receive love, and to give it away. I love it when we do our vision and mission statement in the morning, because our mission is so filled with love. As a matter of fact, the first line of the mission says, we radiate that divine love. We radiate that divine love. We radiate it so it can go out to the world, so that there's the immensity of God's love can go out into the world, and we can share it with everybody. And how do we do that? We do it through prayer, through spiritual enrichment. I think of the metanoia class. It's filling me up with love. It's spiritual enrichment. I'm getting closer with my spiritual being by knowing what's going on in my inner being and in my brain. I'm getting closer with my spiritual being. Through joyful connection, we have a good time. The ice cream social, there was so much love going on at the ice cream social. And then the music started. And boy, you could just feel the love. It was wonderful. And then sacred service. Thank you, Bob, and thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Marcia, Patricia, Cam, for serving today, for David and Harry, for the engagement team, for the tithing team, for everything that we do in sacred service, for all of you that come and are on at 9:30 in the morning and share your love with others as we chat and talk, through sacred service, through spiritual enrichment, through joyful connection. When I think about loving, I think about loving presence. and about us all being a loving presence. And I remember sitting in that little church in North Idaho, the Unity Church up there, and I've talked about it several times, my first Unity experience. And Marilyn Muehlbach was the minister, and she's a short lady, and she was great. She always wore a business suit from Nordstrom's when she preached, and I loved that. I thought that was great. And one morning, she's quiet, and the church is starting, and the announcement, just like here, we're going on, and it was time for the sermon, and Marilyn stood up and walked up to the front, and she had her headset on, and she went to open her mouth, and nothing came out. And then she started to open her mouth again, and I knew this was, and then she started to cry. And she started to cry. And so we all sat there, and she was hurting. You could feel it. Her mother she'd received a call that morning about her mother being in the hospital and not doing well. And as Marilyn stood there alone in the front of the church, a member that had been in that church for a long time by the name of Fran just gently stood up, walked the 3 pews past, and stood beside Marilyn. Didn't touch her, didn't say anything, just stood there and held her in love. Just stood there. We were all quiet and held her in love. And about 2 minutes later, Marilyn turned and looked at Fran and nodded. And Fran went and sat down. Marilyn said thank you to all of us and went on with her talk. Fran was a loving presence. Fran brought her love to Marilyn and gave it to her and supported her with it and held it for her. When she was having difficulty finding it for herself, Fran found it, helped her find it. Fran shared her love with her. We all shared our love with her. First thing I usually do is go to the revealing word to see what the metaphysical interpretation of what I'm going to talk about is. What does Papa Charlie have to say about it? And so I didn't want to talk about love particularly, but I have to. But Charles Fillmore says this in the revealing word. Divine love is impersonal. It loves for the sake of loving. It is not concerned with what or who it loves, nor with a return of love. Like the sun, its joy is in the shining forth of its nature. Love suffereth long and is kind. Love envieth not. Love flaunts not itself. It is not puffed up. Forgive me for laughing there. I had a typo. Love is an inner quality that sees good everywhere and in everybody. It insists that all is good, and by refusing to see anything but good, it causes the quality to finally appear uppermost in itself and in all things. Wow. Wow. Love is an inner quality that sees good everywhere, everywhere, and in everybody, and in all things, no matter what. It insists that all is good. And by refusing to see anything but good, it causes that quality finally to appear uppermost in itself and in all things. You've all experienced it. How do we make it through seeing the news if we're even watching the news? We have to bring our love with us. We have to send our love. We have to give our love. We have to feel love coming, even in the midst of things that we don't want to see in this human experience. If we can bring love to them, we can survive. Our daily word for today is loving. Sunday, July 24th, 2022. I am a loving, caring presence. Just as the sun shines on everyone and everything, I am a loving presence to everyone I meet. My kind words, welcoming smile, and compassionate actions all spring from the love that is part of my divine identity. Being a loving presence draws me closer to God and to all people. I want to share the love I have known throughout the seasons of my life, at heights of triumph and joy, and the depths of loss and suffering. God is love, and so am I. No matter who I meet or what they're going through, I am loving. I bring support, kindness, solace, and comfort, and share them lavishly without thoughts of reciprocity. And the final line is this: I am the hands and heart of God in this world. I am the hands and heart of God in this world. Yes, I am. I mean, what a statement that is. God is love, and so am I. So no matter what I meet or who I meet or what the situation is, I am loving. I want to share the love that I have known throughout the seasons of my life. Think about that. The seasons, as they turn through our life, as our life goes through what it goes through, as our human experience moves through this human experience, think of love. Think of all the times you found love. Think of all the times love has been shared with you. Think of all the times you've shared love in the seasons of your human experience, and carry that with you. Leave go of the other things that you're carrying with you. Leave go of what you're worrying about. Leave go of who you're upset with. Leave go of who said what or who didn't say what or who did this or who didn't say that. And think about the seasons of your life and the experiences of love that you've had, and share that. You are loving. I bring kindness, loving kindness. I bring support. We support others. I bring solace and comfort and share them. Oh, there's that immensity word that Patricia mentioned, the immensity of love. And I share that immensity lavishly with others. I lavish you in love. It's not easy. I'm sorry, I tell you all these good things, and then every week I say it's not easy, because what's it take? It's that same P word: practice, practice, practice. But we'll talk more about that in a minute. But I want to talk for a minute about the scripture at the bottom of the daily word this week, because it's really an interesting scripture to me. And it's from Romans 13, verse 8. And it says, "Owe no one anything except to love on another. For the one who loves another has fulfilled the law." Let me say it one more time. "Owe no one anything except to love on another. For the one who loves another has fulfilled the law." Now, that's a statement, isn't it? Has fulfilled the law? That's pretty bold. If you love on each other, you're fulfilling the law. Well, what law are they talking about? Well, so I had to go back and read a little bit more of Romans. And of course, the book of Romans is said to have been written by Paul while he was trying to spread the way, or Christianity as we call it today, but the way, the teachings of this man called Jesus, throughout the empire at the time. And so we have the Corinthians that he wrote to, the Galatians, the Philippians, and now he's writing to the Romans. Now stop for a moment and think about here's Paul, wherever he was, and having to send this missile out to the Romans, which could have taken 2 months to get there by foot or a horse, and there's strife going on, not unlike what's going on in the world today. not unlike it at all. There's a war over here, a war over there, a stabbing here, a stabbing there. People are going to church on Sunday and then going out and coming back and needing a midweek refresher and all these things. It's not unlike today. And so Paul is writing to his followers. Matter of fact, it's not unlike me sitting here this morning saying, hey guys, let's be loving. It'll help us all get through this human experience. And Paul was saying, hey, and so here's what he wrote to the Romans. Let no doubt remain outstanding, except the continuing debt to love one another. For whoever loves others has fulfilled the law, the commandments. You shall not commit adultery, you shall not murder, you shall not steal, you shall not covet, and whatever other command there may be are summed up in this one command. Love your neighbor as yourself. For love does no harm to a neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfillment of the law. Boy, love is the fulfillment of the law. How do you follow the commandments? How do you not murder? How do you love one another? How do you not sneak off with your neighbor's spouse? How do you stop saying things you don't want to say, but you say them anyway? How do you stop having feelings that you don't want to have? How do you stop beating yourself up? Oh, how do you stop beating yourself up? Maybe the first person we need to be loving with is us. Oh, maybe the first person I need to be gentle with and provide solace to and comfort to is me. Because then maybe once I practice being love, being a loving presence with myself, I can be a loving presence in this human experience with myself and with others. And I can receive whatever I have coming from others in love. But it takes practice. It takes practice. I was also reminded of Paul's letter to the Corinthians, and when David and I were talking about the music and talking about the song this morning, it was so funny because I had just read from the Corinthians, if I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not love, I have a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. You've all heard that before. I've used it in service before. And this opening line is fabulous because what Paul is saying is, if I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or clanging cymbal. Well, it doesn't matter if I speak from my divinity or from my human self, because without love, I'm a clanging gong or a cymbal. It doesn't matter. I need that love in all I do. I need that love to bring my spiritual experience, the God in me forward, because God is all love. The Corinthians version goes on, and I'm going to come back to David's song, but he says, but in it, Paul says, love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always preserves. Love never fails. It doesn't really. Love never fails. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. So prophets can prophesy all they want, but prophecies stop. And they usually stop with the prophet. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. As I said, once the mouth stops going, That's it. And tongues always stop going. They always do stop going at some point. And where there is knowledge, and we know knowledge can be good, it will pass away. We've certainly seen the passing away of knowledge in our time. For we know in part that we prophesy in part, but when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. So that love brings it all together. Love ties it. Love ties it all together. Love makes us whole. The author Tara Bach says this: often when we're struggling, the only way to find compassion for ourselves is by reaching out to a larger source of love. We might, for instance, take refuge by calling on the Buddha, Divine Mother, God, Jesus, Great Spirit, Shiva, Allah, reaching towards a loving awareness that is great enough to offer comfort and safety to our wounded self. When we feel held by a caring presence, by something larger than our small, frightened self, we begin to find space in our heart for the difficult currents of our life and for the lives of others. The suffering that might have seemed too much can now awaken us to the sweetness of compassion. The sweetness of compassion. To know that compassion is to practice compassion on yourself. To know that love is to practice that love on yourself. How do you do that? How do you practice being a loving presence? Well, first of all, be yourself and trust that you're enough. Yep, trust that you're enough. Say it. I am enough. I am all the love that there is. I am enough for whatever's happening in this particular instance. I'm myself. I'm authentic, and I am enough. And then, oh, this is so good. Let it come simply and naturally. Don't force it. Don't put expectations on it. And don't do what some of us like to do. Don't complicate it. Let it come simply and naturally. Keep it simple. All right. Next step, letting go of unnecessary tension or efforting. It's such a great word, efforting. Letting go of unnecessary tension or efforting. I'm not saying don't take action. I'm saying letting go of all that unnecessary stuff, which is the hard stuff to let go of because our mind is constantly, do this, don't do that. You're not worth it. You're okay. Go over here. Oh, be afraid, you know? Let go of the unnecessary tension and efforting and keep looking for, finding and enjoying non-egocentric pleasure and nourishment in being with others. Looking for and finding and enjoying non-egocentric pleasure and nourishment in being with others. Why, that sounds like loving others for who they are and letting others love you for who you are and not have any expectations about it. Wow, that's going to take some practice too. Letting yourself enjoy this nourishment and allow it to show in your face and demeanor. Letting yourself enjoy it. Letting yourself enjoy the nourishment of love and allow it to show in your face and in your demeanor. Let go of whatever is that stress and efforting and enjoy the love and let it show in your face and demeanor. And last but not least, now listen to this one, okay? Because this is the truth. Do not expect yourself to be constantly in loving presence. Just keep coming back to it. It's hard. We have to practice at it. Don't expect it. Don't beat yourself up if you're not. Just keep coming back to it. So this week, keep coming back to being a loving presence. Say it with me now. I am a loving presence. I am a loving presence. I am. you are. Thank you very much. Have a great week. Thank you.